So hello Abhishek sir, how are you? How's everything going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you so much. So welcome to Bollywood Bubble. And आपकी film Suraj Pe Mangal Bhari is all set to release on 13th of November. It's also Z Studios' first in-house production. So tell me what was the genesis of this film, and how did you go about in terms of commissioning this entire project with Z Studios?
So it is a complete in-house production for Z because the story also was developed internally, and they pitched it to me. It was a story written by Shoki Banerjee and developed in the writers' lab of Z. And they pitched it to me. I really loved the idea. It was a unique concept, and I immediately said yes to it. And we got Rohan Shankar on board, who wrote Luka Chupi, to write the screenplay. And that's how we went about it. Then, did the casting, and then, like they say, rest is history. So, yeah, it was fun. And I'm very proud of the fact that, I made the first in-house production of Z. It was an honor, and it was fun doing it.
So, yours is the only film that's about to get a solo release on Diwali. That was theatrical release. Now, that's a huge thing from where we are coming from, given the whole global pandemic and the worldwide lockdown. But it's also about to face a fierce competition from films like Ludo, Chalang, and of course Laxmii, which has now been changed to Laxmii. So, how do you view this market equation in terms of competition?
Well, there is no market equation. In case we come what we are planning and hoping, because the conversations are still going on with the multiplexes and theaters, because we still have not Maharashtra open. So, Z is figuring out the logistics of it. But if, God willing, everything goes as per plan and we release in theaters, then there is no competition in theaters. Because OTT is a separate medium and a platform. People can watch it whenever they want to, and they can enjoy those films as well. And theater is something which is the litmus test, because people have to come out of their houses and pay and watch it. So the competition is with COVID. It's not with anybody else. In fact, I'm very happy that these films are coming. In fact, I'm looking forward to Laxmii, being a big fan of Akshay sir. I think the main factor is for us is COVID and the lockdown, and the baggage that comes with COVID. So hopefully we'll fight it out in the theaters, and hopefully we'll be able to release it as per plan.
And you have said this earlier in one of your earlier interviews that film developed at the time, Manoj sir or Diljit were the two actors that were there in your mind. So was this during the script development stage that you were talking about?
No, as soon as we finished the first draft of script, because see, while writing the script, this is my personal opinion, one should not be thinking about actors. Unless your actor is the producer, like in Parmanu's case, I had written the story and then I went to John. And then once we started writing the screenplay, after that point, John was in the mind, because we knew that John is playing this, the character of Ashwath Rana. But other than that, you should not be thinking about the actor, one particular actor, because one, it limits you, because somewhere psychologically you're thinking about that actor and his persona in previous films. So you don't create the character, by itself. And secondly, the problem is that, what if you don't get that actor? You've written it according to that actor. And for example, if I write a character thinking of Bachchan Saab in mind, Bachchan Saab is, so amazing. But if tomorrow Bachchan Saab says I'm not doing it, then what will I do? The whole film gets shelved, because nobody can fit those big shoes, man. I mean, so it's impossible, right? So I don't want to get into that situation. So I write, or when I'm working with a writer like Rohan, we work on the script as a character, and then we see. So after we finished the first draft and we knew that this is the sur, then we thought of Diljit, Manoj sir, and Fatima, and rest of the act.
So I'm interested to know Manoj sir is someone who's known for his versatility, and on the other hand, Diljit एक अच्छे एक्टर होने के साथ साथ एक अलग टाइप की एनर्जी अपने साथ में लेकर आते हैं. So ये जो इतना ऑफ द वॉल या quirky combination है दो actors का, who draw so much. I mean, two characters who draw so much from each other in the film. Was this quirky combination one of the reasons that you went ahead with these two names?
We wanted to do a fresh casting and something out of the box. And Shruti Mahajan, who's my casting director, I mean, the credit goes to her that, in our casting meetings, she was throwing these names and, trying to make an ensemble which was unique and not seen before. Also, if you see, every actor is performing a character which is also something unique to them. Like Manoj sir has not done comedy for the longest time, and there's a very different character for him. Diljit is playing a milkman in 95 Bombay, and it's a very, very different character altogether. Like if you see him in Good News, he was a alpha male, somebody who's a top dog, like we say. In this film, if you see the trailer, he's an underdog who's not getting married. He's failing again, and then finally somebody messes up his life, and that's when he thinks of taking a revenge. And it's a very quirky take. And Fatima, I think after Dangal, she's doing a completely 360, I mean 180-degree turn in terms of playing a Marathi Mulgi with a romantic track. And, there's another facet to her character which we have not revealed, but it's a very fresh character for her as well. Like she recently said in one of her, I think, interviews, is that this is the first time she's playing a romantic angle in any of the films. So it's every actor is playing a very, very different character. And they're also working together for the first time. So it's out of the box, it's fresh, and it's unique. So I think that's where casting has an edge. I think our film's biggest USP, apart from, of course, the content, the script itself, which is so good, is casting. And I feel films are majorly, if you get these two things right, the script and casting, 50% of the battle is done. It's as a director, your job is done. Rest 50% is all about garnishing and getting things as per plan, executing your plans. So yeah, it was fun.
This film also has a very powerful lineup, as you said. There's Seema ji, there's another Manoj sir, Manoj Bawa sir, Anu Kapoor ji, and Supriya ma'am hai. Then there's Vijay Raj sir also, Fatima, and of course Abhishek Banerjee. So जब इस फिल्म की कास्टिंग डिस्कस हो रही थी during while you were discussing the entire process, what was your thought and the ideas broadly in terms of casting?
No, so basically this time, so Shruti has done 3 films for me till now, and if you see my filmography, I work a lot with fresh talent, not just in lead cast but also in secondary cast. So this time, after seeing the script, she said that this film requires an ensemble, experienced actors. So let me cast accordingly. So I gave her that freedom. I said okay, and then the names that she brought in, and we both, me and her, we did one-on-one meetings with all these great actors, from Anuji to Manoj Pawar sir, Seema Pawar ma'am, Neha Paintse to Vijay Raj to all these lovely actors, Abhishek Banerjee and all of them. Um, and we pitched it one by one, and nobody said no because they loved the script, they loved their characters, and every character has their own space in this film. So from that point of view, it was fun, and I'm glad that we casted that way, because look at the reaction that we're getting from people. Casting is the talk of the town right now.
90s 1995 के आसपास की स्टोरी है ये। तो जाहिर तौर पे जब आप ऐसी सेटिंग में जाते हैं तो प्रोडक्शन डिज़ाइन और आर्ट डिपार्टमेंट काफ़ी फोरफ्रंट पे आ जाते हैं। If you talk about cassettes, dial-up phones, floppy disks, Fiat Padmini, these are some of the elements that define that era. तो इस फिल्म का जो प्रोडक्शन डिज़ाइन है या जो आर्ट है, what was your vision in terms of executing it right from while
So we had Rajat Podar as a production designer, and Raja as our art director, and both of them did great job. I mean, Rajat sir is a great production designer. He's done amazing films, and so it was a privilege to work with his team. And idea was, see what happens with period films sometimes is that we kind of put it down the throat of the audience. That this is a period film. Look at me. So the art screams in your face that this is a period film. But my idea was, because you don't want to, because it creates a disconnect. What happens is, if it is too much in your face art direction in terms of period, there is a little disconnect that this is not about my world. It's not in our world. But ऐसा होता नहीं है. Like 95, you have to work on the nuances. That what's there and what's not there. You can't create your own imaginary 90s. I've lived in 90s, so of course I know how it was. Of course, it was very different, and yet there were a lot of similarities in terms of, like the city of Mumbai. There are many places which are still there. So how do you create a world within today's world where it gives you that nostalgia enough, but at the same time it doesn't disconnect you. That is the biggest challenge for art, and I think Rajat did it wonderfully. So whether it is the use of pages of that time, or like you said, cassettes, or the telephones, and those Beetle phones had also come at that time. I remember those the button push ones. The lack of mobile phones to lack of internet to lack of social media. Also, we have created the chawl, because nowadays the chawls of Mumbai have almost vanished. You don't see the chawl life as much, but so we created a chawl, and we have given it good aesthetics, and at the same time given it the feeling of of that nostalgia of going back into time, so that people feel that how Mumbai chawls are. Then there is another big, from an art point of view, there is a big tabela that belongs to Suraj's character. What kind of utensils were used during that time? Even the wall clocks. So everything is nuanced. It's there, but we have not tried to spoon feed the audience that this is period. Look at. So we have created it through nuances so that people get into the nostalgia at the same time. Like Yamaha, the bike that Diljit's character is driving is RX 100, which was a legendary bike at that time. So we have worked on those nuances and we've got everything correct accordingly. But at the same time, we've not tried to be in your face. Then look at me, I'm a period film. That we have tried to avoid.
And talking about the music, it also feels like, as you mentioned, that you didn't want your audience to feel disconnected. So इस फिल्म का म्यूजिक भी है, अगर मैं बसंती गाने की बात करूं, तो उसमें जो साउंड है, ओवरऑल साउंड या जो ऑर्केस्ट्रेशन है गाने का, इट आल्सो फील्स मोर ऑन द कंटेम्पररी लाइन्स, जो आजकल का साउंड हम सुनते हैं वो. सो म्यूजिक के थ्रू भी क्या आपने वो कनेक्ट मेंटेन करने की कोशिश की है?
Of course, like score makes a very big, what do you call the background score, and even the film music has references, and it has that connect which will take you to the nostalgia. But at the same time, like I said, it should not sound old. It should just make you feel nostalgic at the right places. Like even Basanti lyrically is taking you into into that zone, and we're showing a dance bar which is almost absent now in today's Mumbai. You will not see so many dance bars, and there was a culture of dance bars in Bombay in '95. So we've tried to visit that and show that world, but at the same time keep it entertaining, keep it contemporary enough. So Mohsin Javed have done a great job, and so has King Shuk. King Shuk Chakravarti has done the background score, and he has created some amazing tracks. He has used brass bands and whatnot to bring that emotion and nostalgia, and he's used very different kind of sounds, and mostly he has been using live instrumentation to bring that, because in '90s we used to have live instruments
Yeah,
in films, and
DSTs were not there in that
electronic.
area.
Yeah, so it's not very electronic. It has a very much live feel in the background score when you see the film. In fact, the track Suraj Pe Mangal Bhari is a background. It's a part of background score. So that has been made by King Shuk. So there's a lot of depth in music, whether it's Mohsin Javed's album for the film, or whether it is the background score created by King Shuk. They have done a brilliant job.
And as a storyteller, humor or comedy is one of your core strengths. So, did it give you an edge or a confidence कि मैं इतनी powerful जो मेरी casting है, जो इतना powerful lineup है, इससे ना सिर्फ मैं एक अच्छी इन्हें ना सिर्फ handle कर लूँगा, but एक strong performance भी extract कर लूँगा, and from everyone, top notch performance from everyone.
Definitely. See, once you, like I said, once you have a great script and such a great ensemble of actors, all you need is to put your plans into execution. And that's where, as a director, my experience and my quirk comes handy. That, I know this space. Now I have the tools to, do it. I have the content. And it's all that you have to focus and just make it right. And don't try, experimentation. Like I said, you sometimes a director needs to know where to stop, where to let the thing grow itself. It's an evolution when a film gets made on the set, and that's why my favorite time in filmmaking process is shooting. Of course, post production editing has its own fun moments, and writing has its own. You're creating stuff, and it's great, but it is the set, it is the location when you're shooting that it's getting created. Actually, that's what happens. Actually, that's where action happens. So then you need to be both, a supervisor and an observer. so that you know where to stop interfering in that process where actors are creating something beautiful, where to intervene and get the course correction right or give an input which makes it even better or funnier. So that's where my core strength comes. But idea was to let it breathe. It's a very organic process, and especially comedy like this with such great actors. It's a all-star team. I mean, it's one of the best ensembles that we have seen in the longest time, and I'm privileged to have worked with them. Thanks to Shruti that she kept telling me that let's get all the Diggaj together. So yeah.
And trailer makes short है. It's a Hitchcock zoom or a dolly zoom on Diljit. So I just want to know,
Yeah.
I mean, is there some
Domino.
revelation? Yeah. So is there some revelation or a shock value attached to that shot? If you
Yeah,
could
yeah,
tell me
it's a
superficially.
very, very important beat in the film. I'm really glad that you observed it. I appreciate your, you know, you looking at it that minutely because yes, it's a domino or a zoom dolly as some people call it. It's one of my favorite shots. Of course, it's completely the finesse came from Hitchcock, who's one of my favorites. But it's coming at a very very important juncture of the film, where Diljit is shaken to his core for some reason. So that's that effect. And when you see the film, you'll realize that why I've used that particular shot because that was the only shot that could express the kind of shock which I wanted in the on Diljit's face, you know, and the feeling the audience should get because I think that is a juncture in the film where even the audience will be shocked a lot. So that's why I mean can't give you the spoiler, but yeah, it's coming at a very 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 critical stage in the film, and it takes the film to a different level.
And you start your career with Tere Bin Laden. It was a sleeper hit. वो film, I mean, दबे पाँव आई and बहुत बड़ा धमाका करके गई थी वो film. It's a classic case of work in silence and let your success make the noise. In retrospect, वो जो उस film की success थी, that catapulted you to the limelights and fame. How did it shape the filmmaker in you for years to come?
It's I mean I'm whatever I am, it's because of that film. I mean it's the most important film in my filmography, and it will remain even if I made Parmanu also, and I made many other films, but Tere Bin Laden, basically it's not just about giving me a break or success of some kind, but also the kind of experience I had with that film, the kind of exposure I had, and it gave you a lot of confidence because that film was a very non-Bollywood film.
Yeah.
It's a very indie film which is not standing the test of the Bollywood grammar. If you see, it doesn't have a love story. It doesn't have the song and dance like we usually see in films. It doesn't have music to support it like that. It had music, but it was more of a functional music. It is set in Pakistan. I think it's the only Indian film which is completely set in Pakistan. Every character is a Pakistani. Your lead actor was a Pakistani. Okay. It is a comedy about Osama bin Laden, who was the most dreaded guy at that time.
Yeah.
Everything is wrong on paper if you see. So it needs a lot of courage. Actually, for my producers Pooja and Aarti to back that film, it needed a lot of courage. And as a director, I need to be either too courageous or a romantic fool to make that film that let's make this film. Everybody will be cool with it. Luckily, everybody was cool with it. But
Yeah.
if you see it on paper, it's a very dangerous film. It's a very scary film to make, and especially at a time when Bin Laden was alive and kicking.
Yeah.
So after that film, then you're never scared. After that film, then you get that confidence, especially after, of course, like you rightly said, when the film succeeded, it again gives you a booster of a confidence. But after that film, then suddenly your benchmark is very very high, and even till today, I'm trying to match because I always say that your competition is always with yourself. So Tere Bin Laden has created a benchmark for me that I keep questioning myself. Like I think after a very long time with Suraj Pe Mangal Bhari, I feel that this humor is of that level that how we achieved in Tere Bin Laden. Thanks to all these great actors and great writing, that I can proudly say that this film might remind people of Tere Bin Laden in that way. So that film is definitely it's everything to me. It's the most special work for me. I mean, as a creative person, and I think somewhere I am whoever I am, and I'm going to be whatever I am because of that one particular film.
And you mentioned Parmanu 2-3 times in this conversation. So I believe you are again working with John on some other project also. So मैं चाहूँगा आप इस फिल्म के बारे में कुछ बताएं without course revealing too much about it.
Yeah, too early to say much about it because there's still a lot of time to go on flows because John has to first finish some of his commitments which are getting delayed due to COVID. But it's a very special film again. He's producing it. I can only say that tentatively right now it's called Ray, R-A-Y, and it's again a different genre.
Mhm.
It's not a comedy. It's also very different from Parmanu itself. It's a different film. Not seen again. You have not seen John in this kind of a character. Both, from a physical point of view to a psychological point of view, it's a very different character. Very entertaining film, but at the same time, it's a unique genre which we are dying to share with the audience. And yeah, I mean that's all I can say right now. It's too early because otherwise John will John will kill me right now if I give more away. And right now he's in his Satyamev Jayate 2 avatar, so I don't want to mess with him. So yeah, but he's very excited about it, and so am I.
And lastly, again, talking about Suraj Pe Mangal Bhari, both Manoj sir's character and Diljit's character, they have a certain flamboyance attached to them. Diljit's character, as I see, it's is on the louder side, of course, being from the Sardar background, and of course, then there's Manoj sir who's playing a detective, so he has to step into different shoes every time while tailing someone. So, were you any time at point afraid that the flamboyance of these two characters might throw the film out of the boundaries sometimes?
No, because see, both the actors are also very experienced and amazing artists, and they never. So there's never a competition. What happens in comedy if two actors become too competent, then it can go overboard.
Yeah.
But in our case, that was not, that was not the thing. It was they were collaborating. All these actors are so experienced and they're also so secure now that they never were trying to outshine. And that's why it remained in that zone that fine balance where we wanted it to be of a certain level and at the same time not go too much over the top. And film has a lot of nuances, and even Diljit, his character has a lot of subtleness also. Like if you see in the film, there is a certain innocence on his face, and that's why whenever he says any line, it either makes it funny automatically, even if the line is not funny, it makes it funny because of his expression, his innocence.
Yeah.
Like when he says, "आप जैसी लड़की का हाथ लगना मतलब 1 किलो दूध में से 10 किलो पनीर का निकल," उसमें कुछ नहीं है लाइन में. Even when he says इसको सजा मिलनी चाहिए, उसमें कुछ नहीं है. मतलब when you read it, it's not funny. इसको सजा मिलनी चाहिए उसकी, पर वो जिस भड़ास से आ रहा है, जिस भड़ास में है वो जिस तरह दिलजीत निकालते हैं, तो उसकी वजह से वो फनी बन जाता है. सिमिलरली मनोज सर तो मतलब मैं उनको नेशनल ट्रेजर बुलाता हूँ. मतलब उन जैसा एक्टर हिंदुस्तान में है नहीं, तो हमें उनको एकदम सहेज के रखना है. और अभी बहुत सारी चीजें, बहुत सारी फिल्में उनसे करानी है, उनसे देखनी कुछ. ही इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट ब्रिलियंट माइंड्स व्हेन इट कम्स टू एक्टिंग. और अच्छी बात यह कि वो बहुत टाइम बाद कॉमेडी कर रहे हैं और ऐसा कैरेक्टर उन्होंने कभी किया नहीं है, तो उनके लिए भी एक अच्छा चैलेंज था कि मैं अलग अलग कैरेक्टर्स करना चाहता हूँ. And we had fun working. It was a ball. It was amazing.
So with that, we have reached the end of this conversation. I would like to know कुछ ऐसा सवाल जो मुझसे पूछना रह गया हो या जिसके बारे में आप बात करना चाहते हैं. So please feel free to talk about.
नहीं, I think आप तो मतलब डोमिनो तक में चले गए, शॉर्ट तक डिस्कस कर लिया, तो which I really liked. I mean, you have a very good cinematic mind, and so that's great. Yeah, I mean, I think you covered everything.
So on that note, thank you so much for talking to us, Abhishek sir. It was a pleasure being in your company,
Same.
talking to you. I wish you all the best,
Same.
Please take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.